Today we won 13 games in a row with Jules in the Bazaar. This is a full guide of the early game boards, the mid game boards and the late game boards we played to get this win streak. Enjoy! New for this patch is that the Lollipop, one of Jules' best items, got nerfed. They increased its cooldown from 5 to 6 and they also made cutting board not able to work with the Lollipop anymore. This change altogether makes Lollipop a much worse item. It's still playable, but we're not gonna be able to force it as much as we did last patch. They also, however, did nerf a lot of the burst from Karnak, making us available to play a lot more creative boards during the mid into late game boards. Still think Jules is in a good spot right now. We just have to be a little bit creative and have an open mind and play with what we're given. We still have the same strategy as last patch, where we find our full board by day 3 and then farm gold to day 6 and then we use that gold to buy items. So let's walk through our wins here. We started up with a 4 win here, and the first day we found a crit coffee. A deadly coffee gives 50% crit to the item it's hasting to the left. We ended up with some shield here, and by 2 we found a silver rice. I thought it was a super good idea to play rice since I had a deadly coffee, hasting it and giving it crit, while we also had another haste item on the rice and a big shield item on the side. All this together would have given us lots of defense while we scaled up the rice. I was wrong, it did not work out, and we never found the dragon stake until the last day to transition into a crit build. We ended up with 4 wins, so the rice board doesn't get much better than this, and it still did not work out. Do not play this item. Next game we ended up with a prep station. When you have prep station, it's gonna buff items that has regen, burn or shield, meaning we want to play items that have both shield and regen and burn on them, because they get twice as much benefits. We ended up by day 3 to include 2 tools, because when you use a tool you charge the prep station. We ended up with 60 gold by day 6, and we did find this item from a random weapon event. If you don't know what this item does, it is by every 6 seconds it's destroying the item right of it. Meaning I can destroy a food with this. Meaning if I play this in combination with the fruit press, we have 2 items that's gonna destroy items. And I just play foods with these 2. And every time I destroy a food I double the fruit press damage. Meaning I get twice as much damage scaling from the fruit press as I would have if I only played one item destruction item. I also used the veggie garden to buff the base damage of the fruit press by 5% of our max health here. And this is what it looked like. Yeah, the noodle did haste itself.
Should hunt together sometime.
Next game we found a toaster. A toaster wants you to play adjacent fast food, because every time you use an adjacent fast food you're increasing its burn. We played one of the heated items that gets multicast on heated to buff the burn, and we also played a 2-second noodle without any effect here, just to further buff its burn. We combine it with a knife sharpener on the side here just to haste a random tool for 2 even at bronze. If you play the toaster, all you need to play is defense, because toaster has all the offense you need. So we opted for a vintage with really high base shield and slow and CC on the enemy. This is just fake, we could have played without this, we just filled up the board with it. We ended up cruising with this package here to basically 6-0 the first days and end up with 75 gold by the 6. We found this item again, which destroys food, and we combined that with a fruit press, meaning we double damage every time we destroy, and this is what it looked like.
I lost everything long before you were born.
GG.
This is nothing to me.
Next game was a little bit more tricky because we did not find an early burn item. So we ended up with a toxic pasta here. And toxic pasta does poison equal to its regen, meaning we try to scale its regen with the pumpkin here. And every time we increase its regen, we increase its poison. We combine that with a fast regen item on the other side to have a pretty solid defensive standpoint. And we added a microwave to this board just to haste the pasta and the pumpkin while we scale the poison. It ended up working quite okay here until late game. We ended up with 44 gold. And by day 6, after day 6, we just found a feast, and since we have heated and shield this close to each other here, we are able to play it both heated and shield, which makes it both scale regen and burn. If you want to win with feast in the late game, you need to look for a defensive enchant on the feast, because that will enable you to scale the feast throughout the fight while you blocking the enemy damage with the shield or the healing from the feast here. And you also want to combine it with the meat tenderizer here, because what the meat tenderizer does is it's reducing its adjacent foods by 10% every time it goes off. You combine it with like a black pepper here to really make this pop off, because every time I use this I reduce this cooldown, and when I use this I charge the meat tenderizer. So these two in combination creates for a really fast synergistic loop, and every time I use this I reduce this. So this will make your feast go to 1 second really fast. We added the salt just to double its damage since we needed some crit this game. And you also want to play like a Salic with this board, because this board is lacking haste unless you have something to haste it. We had a skill that says when you poison your item skins crit, which will infinitely charge our Salic here. That's why we kept our toxic noodle into the very late game here. This is what it looked like. 1 second pterodactyl is not good enough here. That's funny. Knife tricks. One second pterodactyl. The power of feast. It's pretty good. Next game was a little bit of a normal Jules game. We would end up finding the skillet really early in day 1. We opted for more burn items on our board, and we clicked every single event to give us more cinders or more skills to increase the burn. And this is what our board looked like by day 3, and we cruised by this until day 6. We ended up by 71 gold, where we ran into a feast once again. However, this time I did not have a heated slot, so I used my scorched pepper, which I had earlier, to make it both heated and chilled. It's not really preferable, because you will need to play your pepper here throughout the game. We still use the meat tenderizer combo here to lower its cooldown. We had the Salic, we had some CC on the board here as well, and this is what it looked like. This looks fine, but eventually we'll one-tap us with this, since we don't have shield. But it doesn't have defense, so it's probably fine.
If you think you've hurt
GG.
my feelings, I assure you I have none.
Next game was a normal burn start again. We had the skillet and the noodle. We picked up a toxic pepper, and then we just played for cinders and for burn skills. And we ended up trying the new burn item here. It's only buffing the heated burn item, which makes this not such a great item as I thought it was gonna be. We basically cruised with this build anyway till day 6 with 44 gold. We had a farmer's market pickup here, and we also had another feast, which we did not find heated on shield slot for. So I opted out from the feast, and since I got a burn enchant by day 10, I opted for a burning potato here, and I found a toxic event to make this toxic as well. So I tried to use as much proccing of these for defense while burning and poison them down here. And this is what it looked like. He might infinitely outscale us. Yeah, we might be cooked here. Nope. GG.
That was impressive.
Next game was a normal toaster game again. I opted for fast food here, and you can actually play coffee, even though it's not extremely fast, it's decently fast while hasting the toaster as well. I opted for a defensive enchanted item here by day 1, since all we need when you play toaster is defense on the side. This ended up working out fine, since I added a skillet to the build as well. We had lots of burn and lots of defense. We cruised till day 6 by 19 gold, since we spent some on the skillet. Fine as well. And later on, we did pick up the new item, the meat grinder. The meat grinder is a really interesting item, because it deals damage every time you use an adjacent food. So once you have this item, you want to have really fast food. So I picked up a pizza next to it, since when I proc the pizza, I will deal damage here. I also used this to use the pizza one time, really fast. And on the left side, I used a multicasted a second stew, which is also triggering the thing here, while charging the stew. I also had some crit here, because why not? And this items here is only to give freeze and shield for extra multicast on the stew. And we had a very good fiery skill this game, which increased the burn on all of these items as well. This is what it looked like. Wait. Nah, we win this for sure.
Next time I'll show you what I learned.
We have Spice Rack at home. Next game we found a toaster again, and found decently fast food here. Not a great fast food here, but it is a toxic enchanted sorbet. I decided to play a little bit with the sorbet, so I opted to buff its shield here with some cake and some syrup. And we ended up scrapping the toaster eventually, only buffing this, and it actually held up really good with shields dealing toxic damage, until we eventually ended up finding a freezer, which we just included the new changed Swan item into the build as well. So what the Swan does, it's giving adjacent items multicast when this is on shield. It's also gonna freeze your shield items, meaning I had multicast on the cubes, on the sorbet, and on the sorbet. So I had lots of freeze, and when I used the Swan, I froze every single freeze item, shield item, meaning I froze this, I froze itself, it's freezing this, it's freezing this, it's freezing this. So we had lots of burn from the multicast, and if the enemy didn't die from the multicast, our Swan with 5 freezes is just gonna clap them. With this strong of a build, you don't even need to have scaling freeze damage skills, even though they're good. All you need is a good base damage on the freezer and toxic and burn, and you will just clap the enemies. This is what it looked like. This is so nice, because we're gonna have 100% crit soon. And then no one will be able to beat us.
I have no pride for you to wound.
Which rank have you now? Once again, a toaster board with fast adjacent items. We picked up some defense on the side here with a hat. We ended up with 67 gold. We found a freezer. We played it with blender. You can play icicle next to blender, because the icicle would freeze at start of combat, triggering the haste from the blender, and eventually you transform the icicle itself into an active slushy instead. Meaning this is a very solid board. Even though it's not completed yet, we still won with this. That looks fine, right? And it's time to scale.
If you think you've hurt my feelings, I assure you I have none.
The next game we had a little bit of a rough start. We did not find any good burn or scaling damage early game. Meaning I opted for a shielded Mullet here, thinking I could maybe buff its burn and have a shielded burn item here later on. However, by day 1 I opted to play this at a heated slot, because it has 100% crit. So we actually scaled the region quite hard here by day 1, ended up winning us the fight. And by day 2 we did find the prep station again, which is amazing. So these two will be the adjacent tools to charge prep station. And we played a bunch of random crap, which got buffed from the prep station. Ended up with 48 gold by day 6, and we found a freezer, and then we just played some random freeze crap together with it. This is what it looked like. Add 2 freezers. I just wish we had haste.
Oh, in the kitchen. The meat doesn't fight back.
GG. Next game we had a normal skillet start, and I opted for this item here because it's haste a random tool. It works great with the skillet as well. We had the microwave to haste all food, and we had a vintage here for defense. We did lack a little bit of burn here in the early game, but it went okay. We ended up 23 gold by day 6. We ended up going into a toxic salesman where we did find a toxic love. So I used this item with a bunch of slows like the vintage we had to trigger a bunch of poison. Eventually we did find the farmer's market to buff its regen, which is increasing the poison as well. So I played the farmer's market and this item here together with a bunch of slow items. And we got lucky enough to find a heavy enchantment by day 10, which we ended up giving on the farmer's market, meaning we will no longer be forced to play any slow items on this board. Because what this does is when you regen, you will slow with this. And when you slow, you will regen with this, meaning this creates a sort of a loop going on and on and on and on into infinity here. So all I cared about was adding a little bit bunch of extra max HP through the item here, and adding this item here to trigger regen as soon as possible into the combat, while having a little bit of CC on the side.
Bring her about! I've got another salvo in me.
Next game we found a normal burning start here. However, this game I decided to pick up this meat grinder as well during the mid game, since it does offer you some sort of late game angle if you have the correct damage skills. But if we didn't find the damage skills, I would not be able to play this towards the late game. However, we did end up finding when you burn gain damage on your stuff, meaning I opted for this kind of late game board. I use my dishwasher here to double the damage on my heated items here. Whenever I burn, I will get extra damage here, and whenever I use an adjacent item here, I will burn with the thing here. Meaning I used the basket and the pancakes here with lots of crit. So every time I use these items, they will charge each other due to the thing here, creating a sort of an infinite loop. While I scale its burning and its damage here. I think we're fine. We're fine.
Next time I'll show you
GG.
what I learned from this.
Next game, normal toast to start, fast food adjacent, and an item that hastes your tools. We opted for some defense on the side as usual with the toaster, 27 gold by day 6. And towards the late game we did run into a spice rack. If you have spice rack, try to play it with really fast high critical foods. We opted for the combo here because pizza has 6 multicast and we can use it with a corkscrew to instantly proc all the multicasts. All we needed now was crit chance, so we had some crit skills for this game. We also had this item here, which is increasing all the crit on your items by 50%. And when you crit with an item, it's reducing its cooldown by 8, meaning after the first procs here, this pizza was basically 1 second cooldown, with lots of burn on it as well. This guy has shield, he could actually beat us. Except, never mind.
You should put it toward nobler use.
And for the final game of the stream, we ended up with a normal burn boar in the early game. However, we did have a slow item here. Meaning, when I found and picked up a emu, which I kept on my bench, I opted to slot it in once we had a little bit more slow. So we sort of created a slow emu build, which looked like this. You can still upgrade pumpkin, hotbox, honeycomb here. I feel quite good about it. However, I did feel like the slow emu build was not strong enough, so I had a freezer in my backpack just in case we needed to make a transition. We picked up some other freeze item to support it, and once we found the event to change our heated slot into shield, it was a no-brainer. We just slapped this board out of existence and slotted in this new board for the final 2 days. We have to pray. He's crazy. Okay, we got lucky. GG.
I believed
This is why we skip Blender.
still lost.
I hope you enjoyed this rundown, and I hope you can copy some of my ideas or strategies or boards for your own games. Good luck and take care, and I'll see you guys in the bazaar.